recording. Hey, Doc, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Actually, it's afternoon, but that's okay.
It is afternoon, but somebody could
Yeah.
be watching it in the morning. You never know. It's recording.
Oh, okay.
How about good day? That sounds good.
I'll accept that.
Well, the topic that we chose today is weight loss and how hormones affect your weight, whether you want to lose weight or maintain your weight. And I'm referring to a blog that we posted last year, which is extremely relevant. And in that blog, Doc, you address 5 hormones that are essential to maintaining your weight. And we feel we wanted to share this with everyone because I know that oftentimes we hear this quite a bit, where people go on diets and they lose weight and then they go right back to where they were, or they just can't lose weight in the first place. And I know that causes a lot of frustration. However, just as a point of health and also understanding how hormones affect every system in your body, Doc, can you elaborate on those 5 hormones that affect your weight?
I guess I could do that. Well, we can start with thyroid. I think most people are aware that thyroid controls metabolism in just about every cell of the body. And so people with an underactive thyroid very often have a tendency to have a sluggish metabolism and put on weight. And people with an underactive thyroid will put on weight generally all over. And the thing about people with an underactive thyroid may become aware of it if they notice, for example, that their heels crack. I mean, that's classic for an underactive thyroid. Mm-hmm. A low body temperature, below 97 is also indicative of an underactive thyroid. Dry skin, poor nails, constipation. Like I say, the thyroid controls
everything.
Everything, yeah. So that's one thing. So let's put that aside.
Okay.
There's a hormone called insulin.
Very important.
And it is important. And the thing about insulin is the hormone that puts on fat around the middle. So when people are gaining weight around the middle, they can usually blame insulin for that. And insulin, as people are pretty much aware, responds to levels of sugar. Mm-hmm. So anytime the body produces sugar, the body puts out insulin. Okay. Mm-hmm. There are a couple of hormones. There's a hormone called, I don't know if I pronounced it correctly, ghrelin. And ghrelin is made by intestinal cells, but what it does, it stimulates the appetite. Mm-hmm. So obviously, the less ghrelin that people have, the less tendency they have to gain weight. Proteins and fats don't stimulate a lot of ghrelin. Again, carbohydrates do.
Okay. Good carbohydrates like vegetables.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, there's another hormone called leptin. Mm-hmm. And leptin is the good guy. Leptin helps people to lose weight. And people should be aware that one of the stimulants to leptin is MCT oil. And MCT oil is one of, it converts into ketones, and ketones are one of the 2 fuels that the brain uses. So again, it's probably an important supplement that people should think about is MCT oil. But let's talk about the main.
Now, that's MCT oil is coconut oil, basically. It's just a refined version of coconut oil.
Well, it's made from coconut oil.
Okay.
The big difference between coconut oil and MCT oil, coconut oil is great for cooking because it has a very high heat threshold. Right. MCT oil, not so great for cooking, but it has no flavor, so it can be added to anything.
Got it. So it's kind of like, extra virgin olive oil or extra virgin coconut oil.
Okay. Right. So let's talk about the 2 major offenders when it comes to weight loss, to weight gain, actually. People are aware of cortisol. Mm-hmm. And and the body releases cortisol in response to stress. And we do live in stressful times. There's no question. Um, and when the body's under stress and the body releases cortisol, the first thing cortisol does, it raises sugar levels through a process called glycogenolysis, where it converts glycogen
Mm-hmm.
into glucose.
Okay.
And and glucose is sugar.
Right.
And
And that
the
feeds the brain.
it does.
Okay.
The brain actually uses more sugar than any other tissue in the body per weight. And anytime the body detects that the brain is running out of fuel or sugar, it puts out actually adrenaline to raise sugar levels. And adrenaline is actually the main offender when it comes to weight. And it's the one hormone that nobody ever talks about, but yet it's the most important when it comes to weight gain. Um, most people know of adrenaline as the fight or flight hormone, but the body's main reason for utilizing adrenaline is to make sure the brain has fuel. And this is a survival concern.
Right.
You've heard of people that fall asleep when they're driving, and again, that happens when the sugar goes low, hypoglycemia. And when people fall asleep when they're driving, they can go off the road and hit a tree and kill themselves. So understandably, you could understand that the brain always wants to make sure the brain can function to
Right.
keep people alive in certain situations. So,
Very
so
important. I know a lot of people get after they eat and they get slumped, around 2 or 3 in the afternoon or later in the afternoon, and they feel like they got to have a cup of coffee or, and that
so
is, why
so
is
why
that?
does the why
Yeah.
does I was going to say why does that happen? Well,
Right.
you know, first of all, insulin peaks between 3 and 4 in the afternoon,
Okay.
and whenever insulin goes up, blood sugar goes down. And when you take sugar away from the brain falls asleep, then the body again puts out adrenaline.
Right.
And when the body puts out adrenaline, it creates stress, and then the body responds to the stress by putting out cortisol. So now you have cortisol and adrenaline both raising sugar levels. Now I mentioned that cortisol, converts glycogen into glucose. What adrenaline does, it converts protein
Mm-hmm.
into glucose through a process called gluconeogenesis.
Okay.
So they're two different processes, but they both wind up with elevating the sugar. And and this whole process occurs mostly around 2:30 in the morning. And the reason why at that time that it happens is because the brain runs out of fuel right around that time. And so this is why for some people it's important to eat something before they go to sleep. A lot of people, they say, no, don't eat after 5 p.m. I'm
Right.
saying eat something before you go to sleep. Um, a lot of people are doing, these,
Mhm.
intermittent fasting. So they have to understand they're going long periods without fuel coming into the brain.
Right.
So they may be living on adrenaline, and which will
Wow.
defeat so it defeats the purpose of they're trying to lose weight. But it all comes down to whatever works for whoever it is. But
So
they
how
should
much
be
should
aware
you
that.
eat before you go to sleep? I mean, you don't want to have a meal. You don't want to have dinner at like 11, at night. So before you go to bed, what do you recommend to feed your brain before you go to sleep?
Well, I'm going to say a cup, like a cup of vegetables.
Mhm.
Vegetables are the best source of glucose for the brain. You don't think of vegetables as being high in sugar, but they are a carbohydrate, and
Right.
all carbohydrates break down into glucose.
Mhm.
Um, Now they are known as what is called low glycemic. What that means is they don't produce a lot of insulin. Now,
Right.
candy and soda are great sources of glucose,
Mhm.
but they stimulate a lot of insulin. They're high glycemic, which
Mhm.
means they actually wind up lowering sugar, which goes against what we're trying to accomplish by giving sugar to the brain.
Wow.
So yeah, so vegetables are low glycemic. Um, a, a good side dish, if people wish to do this, is sweet potatoes that have been sliced up and fried in coconut oil. And
Mhm.
that way they get the two fuels that the brain needs, glucose and ketones. So that's
Great.
just something that they might want to consider.
Yeah. It's
So
better than
so
eating a cup of green beans before you go to bed. It doesn't sound very appetizing. But sweet potatoes are
my
tasty.
my might cause nightmares.
Right, exactly.
Uh,
You don't want to have broccoli.
Well, even a tablespoon of MCT oil before, or coconut oil before going to sleep
Right,
would be helpful.
right.
Um,
I know we have that recipe in your adrenaline dominance meal plan that we have offered
yeah.
online separately and also in the adrenaline dominance bundle, which is really great. I love sweet potatoes, and I've used that recipe and fried it in MCT, and it's very tasty and very
Oh,
good for you, good fiber. Well, this has been great. I wanted to go back to, we had talked about before, and I thought we'd share this with the listeners about how people, if they're not feeding their brain before they go to sleep, then you can actually store, your insulin raises up in the middle of the night. And one of the symptoms to that is when you get up and urinate, right? It stimulates you to go to the restroom. So
mhm.
people that get up in the
It-
middle of the night, that might be a symptom.
yeah, adrenaline gives people that urge to urinate, even during the day. On television, they refer to it as an overactive bladder, but it's adrenaline.
Right.
But adrenaline is also the reason for bedwetting in children, and what they call urgency incontinence in women who
Mhm.
lose urine when they're running to the bathroom. That's all adrenaline.
That's
Um,
incredible.
but but remember, just to put it all together, when people are creating glucose,
Mhm.
um, remember the body responds to that by putting out insulin. And remember, insulin is the hormone that puts on fat around the middle. So
Correct. So it's
yeah.
important to feed your brain and eat the right carbohydrates, low glycemic. Um, so in essence, if you are not feeding your brain before you go to bed and you're waking up, you actually are storing fat cells when you sleep. You could be gaining weight when you sleep. I know we talked
It's
about
probably the
that.
most
So
common cause of weight gain. Yes, absolutely.
yeah, I've taken that from your blog. It wasn't my idea, but I just wanted to point that out. And I think that kind of resonates with the fact that here you are on a diet, you're trying to eat well during the day, and then you go to sleep and you're just gaining fat cells. You're so you're defeating the purpose by not maintaining your insulin levels correctly and everything else. So
If you don't mind, I'm just going to interject one other thing.
sure.
Because people are concerned about weight, and
Yes,
and very often they look to the medical system to help them.
right.
And what's interesting is that they had the perfect combination of pills to help people lose weight. A lot of people remember fen-phen,
Mm-hmm.
and as most people are aware, I don't like drugs. And I try to avoid drugs when possible. But when I first heard about fen-phen, I studied it for 6 months, and it was a combination of one drug called phentermine and another one called fenfluramine. That's where they got fen-phen.
Mm-hmm.
And between them, they sort of counteracted each other's side effects. But what's interesting is that used correctly, there has never been anything as helpful as fen-phen to get people to lose weight. As long as people were eating, and it almost didn't matter what they were eating, they would lose weight.
Wow.
And but it took away cravings not only for food,
Mhm.
and by taking away cravings for food, people could make better choices. They could eat whatever they needed to rather than wanted to. It took away cravings not only for food, but for alcohol, cocaine, heroin, cigarettes, you name it. In 24 hours, people, even if they wanted to, couldn't use these drugs. And so, and it eliminated asthma, it eliminated migraine headaches. It was a wonderful combination of medication with zero side effects. But obviously, now these were two drugs that no drug company had a patent on.
Right.
So, that they couldn't compete with it. So they got the FDA with a very phony study to take it off the market.
Right.
And the FDA is not there to protect consumers, it's there to protect the drug companies.
Right.
And so unfortunately it was taken off the market. But I've maintained that you have people that are morbidly obese and they had nothing that will help them except Fen-Phen. And they should have left it on the market for at least, the 400 and 500 pound people. Anyway, I just wanted to interject that.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that. It seems like it was a long time ago, but yeah, it definitely
It
did
was.
their campaign on that. And I think they were saying it was causing heart disease or something. I vaguely remember, but
Well, the study involved 24 women that they rounded up from around the country. And they were on 18 times the normal dose of these medications, 18 times.
wow.
And this was the only study that ever showed heart damage. But because of that illegal study or
Wow.
whatever you want to call it, they took it off the market.
Wow. Okay. Well, I think that everyone definitely should get a good takeaway from this. And I want to thank you. If there's anything else you want to add, let me know. Otherwise, we can wrap it up. So.
Well, some people, because we talk about progesterone.
Right.
And, progesterone, blocks adrenaline. It blocks insulin. Those are two hormones that create fat. And it also helps the body manufacture thyroid. And it's also what's called a thermogenic hormone. It's a fat burning hormone. So obviously, it's important when it comes to losing weight. It's using progesterone. It also blocks estrogen. I forgot to mention, and estrogen is another hormone that creates fat. Estrogen puts on fat around the hips, the thighs, and the buttocks. And progesterone also blocks estrogen. So it blocks the three hormones that actually create fat. It's a fat burning hormone in and of itself. And I just want to add that. That's all.
Didn't realize that progesterone cream is a fat burning hormone.
As opposed to estrogen is a lipogenic hormone. It creates fat.
Right.
Progesterone is a thermogenic hormone. It helps the body burn fat.
Interesting. That's really, really cool. I love these conversations because all these things come out. There's so much to know. And and I think that primarily most people know that it blocks estrogen, but it has all these extra benefits, so many benefits that progesterone cream has.
It does.
Yeah, so many benefits. It's now understandably, it's your favorite hormone supplement. So, okay, well, this has been really cool. I really like this this conversation about how all these hormones that are so important to the body and affect weight loss and make us feel better. So I hope our listeners get a great takeaway. And again, this is, whatever program you go on, we do suggest that, you speak to your doctor, do your own research. We are here to advise on your nutrition. And we have, Doc has books on the miracle of bioidentical hormones and adrenaline dominance, which I think would be very helpful in terms of weight loss. And we do offer a digital book online and a bundle as well. So anyway, if you have any questions, please email Doc directly at questions@platwellness.com. And we thank you for your time. Thanks, Doc. Have a great one.
Always a pleasure. Okay.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.